So what we want now is we want a verb that describes the thing that you've always kind of done. This is like the through line. This is the subtle golden thread that runs through all your life experiences where you're like, that's kind of what I was born to do. That's just the thing that keeps showing up naturally. I'm like a fish in water with it, that it's an unconscious competence that we're going to make conscious. And we want to give it a verb to start off the 3-word phrase. So I've got recalibrating, addressing, revealing, teaching, storytelling, reconciling, repairing. And it may not be one of those words, but that's sort of the ballpark. Is there a word that pops to mind where you're like, that is the thing that I've always kind of done?
Let's impact some men today. I think we're going to do a great job. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Man Podcast, where we are here to connect men in pursuit of their potential. Now, I encourage you to join us as we embrace discomfort, cultivate community, and put wind in each other's sails. Now, before we jump into the episode, I first want to make sure that I ask you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this episode with someone else that you know can get value from it as well. Now, to the men who are watching or listening, I encourage you to check out the Noble Knights Men's Group, where you can find the support, accountability, and mentorship you need to achieve your goals. Join us and become a part of a community of like-minded men on a mission to increase their capacity for life. And I'm excited because we're getting some wind in our sails for my guest today, who is the creator of Purpose Mapping, a powerful framework designed for high-achieving midlife men who find themselves at a quiet crossroads, wildly successful on paper, but unfulfilled in spirit. Sounds familiar? With over 30 years of transformational leadership and men's work, he has personally guided hundreds of top CEOs, investors, and billionaires to realign their inner compass and design a life of meaningful impact. It is a pleasure to have Craig Filek on the episode today. Craig, thank you for taking the time.
So good to be here, man. And before we dive in, I just want to say I've been listening to episodes of your podcast in preparation for this, and what you're doing is phenomenal. I mean, the level of conversation that you are bringing is so needed and so valuable right now, particularly around masculinity and what is the purpose that men are serving in a society in a massive transition in the history of civilization. And it's been riveting, honestly. So I've been very much looking forward to this. The one thing you didn't ask for that I want to just take a moment and ask everybody listening, if you have not left a 5-star review for Ted, I know what it takes to build what you've been doing. The review is so important. It really helps to build the algorithm to get more attention on these conversations. And I just feel like it's really valuable. So I want to take a minute and just ask everybody to do that. I did it myself. It takes just like 30 seconds, goes a long way.
Thank you so much. And don't worry, that transaction will go through. So, so thank you for saying that.
Paid
I
sponsorship.
do. Yeah. No, it means so much. And I received those words, Craig, truly. And I appreciate the acknowledgement and the recognition because this is a labor of love. This is a passion of mine, connecting men in pursuit of their potential. Connector of men is what I've reflected on and through quiet meditation and just time alone and in prayer asking for what am I here on this planet for? I believe one of the things I could be the best in the world at is facilitating conversations like this and connecting men. So, hence the mission and the vision and the purpose, which is something I'm sure we'll speak a lot about today. But I first want to give you the stage to talk to the audience, introduce yourself. And the first question is if you've listened to a few episodes, I'm sure you're prepared for it, is if you were to walk into a room, nobody knows you, they don't know what you do. How do you introduce yourself?
So I'm a philosophy major. So of course my mind goes to context. Well, what kind of room is it? Who's in the room, right? Who's the audience? But to answer your question in a way that I think would be impactful for this introduction, for this audience listening now, I would simply say, who are you and why are you here? My name is Craig Filek. And if you don't feel crystal clear and on track with your purpose, let's talk.
Mm, I love that. Short, sweet, but clear, which shows me and gives me the hint that you've done this work before, right? You peeled back the layers of the onions. And for some who might be familiar with Six Sigma or the 5 whys, right? You ask the why over and over again to get past the prescribed answers to really get to the root cause. Um, I'd love to understand your journey of how you got to that answer, because I imagine it wasn't as short as delivering it. There must be some real trials and tribulations behind that process.
That's all there is, man. It's been a lot of failing forward. Yeah, I would say, I mean, let's kind of walk it backwards. The place that I've landed most recently, and I'm one of those guys that reinvents myself every 3 to 5 years. I'll go on these quests. I'll go for these, these mountains that I climb, right? These missions that I think is really the nature of the masculine is we have to have a quest. We have to have a focus and something that we are striving towards. And if you've been working with men and you've noticed that, particularly in midlife, successful men will reach a place where they hit the top of what I call success mountain, right? Go to school, get good grades, make the money, get the house, the wife, the kids, the cars, the toys, the vacations. And you get to the top of that and you're looking around and you're saying, now what? What comes next? And there's no roadmap and you get stranded. And so what I find is that the men who are most capable have the most vision, the most capacity, the biggest networks, the most resources, the time and availability to make a real dent in the universe end up drifting off into irrelevance because they don't know what else to do. And so, what I've focused myself on after 30 plus years of men's work, I've been coaching the purpose mapping process for 15. I co founded 2 8-figure companies, and I got to the top and realized more money is not going to make me happier. There's got to be more to life than this. And I took the purpose mapping process and I focused it specifically on successful midlife men so that we can unlock that next level of their potential. Because that's what's most exciting to me. Men who have the means, who don't have to do anything, like anything's possible, which I think creates a lot of anxiety. It's like I have men literally call me up and say, I could be anywhere right now doing anything I want with anyone I want, anywhere in the world. And I'm talking to you. Can you help me? That's the conversation that I like to be in. It's like, okay, in a world of all possibilities, how do we narrow down what you're uniquely designed to contribute to the world? And that's a process of excavation. That's a process of removing the social conditioning, the family conditioning, maybe religious or military or, whatever type of conditioning our heart's authentic purpose is buried under. And the
Mm.
purpose process in just 90 minutes, I can get men to such a clear reflection, such a powerful aha, that they all say the same thing. They all look at this 1 page plan that we create and they go, I've known that my whole life. Why am I just finding this out at 45, 50 years old? Why didn't they teach us this in high school? And so that's the work that I do and that gives my heart a sense of joy and delight and fulfillment and meaning, which is what the second mountain is all about. The first mountain is the hustle and the grind to get to the top. And so few men ever get to the top that it's this elusive thing that they're always working towards. But the ones who actually reach the top, they all have the same experience of like, okay, what else? There's got to be more, right? Like I didn't work this hard for this long to just feel bored and empty for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And the second mountain is about purpose, meaning, fulfillment, impact, and ultimately legacy. And that's what I like to support men with.
I love that you mentioned the mountain because are you familiar with the book The Mountain Is You?
I haven't
Um,
read that one.
it's it's great, but just to show the visual depiction that they break down, they talk about the slopes, right? You imagine a mountain has a western facing slope, an eastern facing slope, and the topography of a mountain is two tectonic plates coming together and pushing up into the atmosphere.
Mm,
And what happens with that peak is there's an old you. Everything that you needed to get to where you were and everything that you believed and prescribed to that got you there. And the other tectonic plate is converging with the new you in which who you have become. And
yes.
overcoming that mountain is the transaction and the transformation from one to the other. And I love how you break it down because so many of us, especially as men, we follow that playbook. We follow the script, myself being one of them. Go to
Mm,
school, get good grades, or after you graduate, get the job, move up in the career, get the wife, the baby, the 1.5 kids, I think it is now, the two
yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
And as I look at, okay, putting in my 401k, Roth IRA, and you look at your math and trajectory, it's like, okay, you're going to retire a millionaire. Do you get complacent, or do you look around and say, I still have more to give? And I think a lot of men are like the dog that catch the bone, or they catch the car and they don't know what to do with it. I have more energy. I have more to give, yet I don't know where to channel it. And you've built this roadmap called purpose mapping. And gracefully, I know you said it takes 90 minutes. You offered to go through some of it on the podcast today. I know we don't have the full 90 minutes, but going through an abbreviated version of it to help pull back the curtains for our audience, right? And give them an idea of the process and how you pull back those layers of the onions. I'd love to know how this process starts. And you could use me as the guinea pig, right? Open me up, Doc, and let's get to work.
Yeah. That sounds great, man. I'll say one thing. What we've been told is the finish line is actually the start line. And so going to school, get good, all the checking off all the check boxes, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't want to disparage that because that's a really normal, natural, healthy part of building ourselves up as men. But it's not the finish line. And I think that's where a lot of us get confused is we think, okay, well, there's got to be more, but there's no roadmap. And the reason there's no roadmap is the first mountain is cookie cutter. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a CEO. Second mountain is so unique. Right? This is Maslow's self-actualization level. This is what Carl Jung called individuation. It's so unique. That's why there's no roadmap. You have to create the roadmap. And so that's what the purpose mapping process is uniquely designed to do. So I'm happy to take you through it. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to actually pull up the yeah, process, and we're going to give everybody a link to this here at the end. While I'm pulling this up, what I'd love to do is I'd love to say for men who are, there's some men that are just never going to go through an online There's they're never going to go through an online program like this. Some men, um, particularly the men who have, hit the deck of millionaire, I've worked with billionaires, nine-figure entrepreneurs. Um, can I give them my phone number? Because some men are just the type of men that are just make a quick phone call. Hey, do we click? So if you're the type of man who's made more money, succeeded more than you ever dreamed possible, I just want to say, reach out to me. Let's have a quick conversation. Shoot me a text or just give me a call. I'll make time for you. Even if it's just, a 5-minute conversation and we can schedule more time if we need to. But I'll tell you how successful midlife men are creating legacy, are creating a life that feels deeply fulfilling, getting out of the what I call the dark valley between the two mountains. There's that dark forest. There's no path through that. And that's what I specialize in. So give me a call, 847-238-8332. It's my cell phone. Just give me a shout and let's have a quick conversation. I'm more than happy to chat with you. And if I'm not the right guy for you, I can pass you on to somebody who might be, but I don't want you to feel stranded because, like I was saying at the beginning, these are the men who can make the biggest dent in the universe, who can help us pivot society at a time when we're in such radical transition. And I want to make sure that these deeply resourced men have a clear path and are able to give their gifts and make the contribution that is so needed in the world.
If iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. But if you're a man and you're alone or listening to this, then who sharpens you? What's going on, guys? Ted Phaeton here, host of the Modern Man Podcast, also founder of the Noble Knights Mastermind Group. And I'm just out here encouraging you to find your circle. Maybe you're on a personal growth journey and nobody around you understands the new mentality that you're possessing. That's okay. You can find an online community that will pour into you, will navigate your goals and navigate your obstacles, share their experiences, resources, and more. Join the Noble Knights Mastermind Group and try us out for free to tap into a community of men helping each other scale up and reach their goals.
Check out themodernmanpodcast.com.
I certainly appreciate that because it's one of those problems that for those who don't live it, they have a hard time seeing it, or they have a hard time empathizing with that. And it's almost like, okay, correct. You've built this wealth, you've built these options in life. What else could you want? But some of the some of the most unfortunate things that can happen to us is we get all the things that we've asked for, and it still doesn't fill the cup with which we've been trying to fill.
Exactly. Exactly. And so let's do this, man. I'm going to pop this open. Is it possible to screen share on this app?
I do not know. I've actually, yes, there is possible presentation.
Let's see if we can do this. I think this will be interesting to take you through. Oh, you know what? This thing is going to give me guff. Man, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to do this old school. I'm going to do it on a sheet of paper, and
Oh, I like
and
it.
I'll just yeah. So the way that this works is I created something that I call the Map of Psychological Wholeness.
Okay.
And if you just picture a big plus sign. So it's like a quadrant. On the left-hand side is being, and on the right-hand side is doing. So there are ways of being that feel better, that's towards the top, and ways of being that feel worse, that's towards the bottom. Things we do that feel better and things we do that feel worse. So the ways of being that feel better, that's our essence. That's the, oh yeah, this is me. This is the real me. This is the character. This is the genius. This is how I want to show up in the world. And the ways of being that feel worse, that's our shadow. That's what we hide, repress, and deny. And everybody's got a shadow. We'll come back to that. The things we do that feel better, those are our strengths. They put us in flow, even if they're hard or scary. And then the things we do that feel worse, that's our downfall. Those are the things that take us out of flow or when we're out of flow, because it's often a slip that we don't notice until we end up saying, "Oh, I'm doing this thing again. I wish I wasn't doing. How did I end up here?" Right? And we got to trace that back, replay it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around those four quadrants. We're going to come up with three words that describe the ways of being that feel better and worse for you. And then we're going to do some alchemy. We're going to get the gold out of your shadow. And we connect that energy, attention, and power that's been trapped there to your strengths. That's where the axis of purpose lights up, and you get to see kind of where X marks the spot on your map of like, oh my God, that is the thing that lights me up. And then we can
Yeah.
build strategic plan around it. So we might not get through the whole thing, but I think we can get through that much. And we don't have to get it perfect. The main thing is to get your north, south, east, west cardinal directions. And then the map, if you picture a map from like the 1500s, right, of America, the early explorers, they were just, oh, there's Florida. That's probably the Mississippi River. It's not perfect, but it's enough to navigate, to know you're not going to fall off the edge of the earth and get eaten by sea
Yeah.
monsters, right? And there's gold there in the Caribbean, right? And so that's all we want to do today is just rough in something that will evolve over time. But those cardinal directions, the ways of being and doing that feel better and worse, those, if we can get those down, and you guys can follow along at home, even if you're driving, just try to think along with us. And then at the end, I might give you a link where you can actually get access to this app and go through the process with videos and things like that. So Ted, if you had to describe yourself in one word, the way of being that feels best for you, what word would you use?
Oh man. Way of being that feels best for me. Uh, Energetic.
Energetic. Cool. And so if we're thinking like three legs of a stool, we want these three words to be as distinct as possible. So you wouldn't say like energetic, charismatic, and dynamic because those are all too close together. Say like energetic. And then what would be another way of describing you at your
Present.
best? Present.
Present.
And one other one that's maybe a little bit more like headspace, analytical, logical, intellectual, some version of that. Is there
Cerebral.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I say I'm a very logical guy, and I describe myself as logical. I get described as logical. So if I am present, energetic, and logical, I'm on all cylinders, baby. Feels
Great. So logical, energetic presence. Does that fit for you for the way of being that feels best?
right now.
Okay, good enough. Okay, great, man. Um, Things you do that feel best. Like, what are the things that put you in flow? And we may end up making some distinctions here, but what's the first word that comes to mind of an activity that puts you in flow?
Oh, I'm doing it right now. Get the gab conversation. I love this conversation.
Yeah. So, is it interviewing? Is it discussing? Is it dialoguing?
Exploring
Like
ideas,
exploring? Okay, cool. What's another thing you do that puts you in flow?
workout, movement.
Okay. And so let's say moving, and then what would be a third thing?
Um, I lose track of time when I'm with my family. Just spending time with my family.
Connecting.
So connecting, yeah, yeah. That's just the time skips.
I like it. Okay. So connecting, exploring, and moving. Yeah. Three things that take you out of flow, or when you're out of flow, you find yourself doing these things. It's the stuff that you're like, man, I know this isn't serving me, but I still find myself doing it anyways.
Oh man. Um, could I be real? um,
I was gonna say
vices.
this is brave of you, man. This is
Yeah,
brave of you to
vices.
do this publicly. Yeah,
Yeah,
role
vices,
modeling
man.
for these men. And yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah. So pick.
transparently, used to struggle with porn and
Yeah,
marijuana. So getting rid of
yeah,
those, it was helping me get to my best. So I'm at my
yeah,
worst with vices.
yeah, yeah. So is that escaping? Is that numbing? What would you say there?
More escaping.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And so you went right for the jugular there. What's maybe something a little bit lighter weight? Like, what's the first shot over the bow of like, oh, maybe like, could be raising your voice, could be, just something that's maybe a lighter touch where you're like, you know what? I could still course correct here. I haven't gone all the way down the water slide
Uh,
into the spectrum.
doom scrolling, social
Yeah.
media.
Okay.
That might fall
Yeah.
under escaping, very similar, but yeah.
Okay. So scrolling, and what's one other thing that you do that takes you out of flow, or when you're out of flow, you find yourself doing this?
Uh,
Binge.
I love junk food.
Yeah. Cool, man. Got it. Thank you for being real. And so now we're going to go into the shadow. So this is the really edgy stuff, and it's a little bit hard to get to, but I think we can still do it together here. When guys get access to the app that I'm going to take them through with the videos, they'll have a little more time to slow down and really get into this. But just do your best. What are the ways of being that feel worst to you? Like, I wish I wasn't like this.
Oh man. Shame and self doubt.
Right. Shame and self doubt is the emotional characteristic of this quadrant, but there are actual like nouns and adjectives you would use to describe yourself in your self talk, maybe something that somebody, yeah. So what would you,
Timidness.
what
I
is
don't
it?
like being timid. Being timid
Timid.
is
Yeah. Great.
yeah.
That's a great.
Mm,
So timid, what else?
uh, people pleasing
Yep. And one more.
and avoiding conflict. And that might be similar to people pleasing. I could search for something else if you'd like.
Yeah. Let's grab one other one.
um, the word escapes me, but it's when you're pandering to someone, you're hyping them up, you're just kissing their butt type thing. It's just
Yeah. I might even put pandering over in the downfall side. So like, whatever. That's a really good one to put over there. It's really specific. So timid, conflict avoidant, people pleaser. We can go with that. How's that sound?
yeah,
Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to get the gold out of that shadow. So what's the opposite of timid? Assertive. What else?
confident.
Confident. Let's do one more. Bold. Which one of those three do you like the best for yourself?
Bold.
I like that too. Okay, cool. Opposite of conflict avoidant.
I wouldn't say seeking conflict, but but I quick to face reality. Realist.
Realist. Yeah. Two more.
Um, communicative.
Okay. And one
Opening
more.
up lines of communication.
Yeah.
And intuition. Intuitive.
Intuitive.
More
I like that.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of those do you like the best for yourself?
Those three. I like communicative. I think we could solve a lot of problems if we just go to the source and talk to them.
Totally. Everything we
Yeah.
want on the other side of a hard conversation.
Exactly. That's my
Yeah.
thoughts exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how it is, man. But that is actually a really great example of getting the gold from the shadow. And I just did this with my daughter. So she's 24 now, and she just left last night. But we went to the beach, and just had some hard conversations. And, she's kind of held me at bay for the last year. And I told her, I said, look, this is individuation. I accept this. I expect this. I'll let you know if it hurts and I'll support myself and I'll support you, right? I'll take care of both of us. Always be your father. Do your thing. And it was really painful. And that kind of started when she was 14. So it's been 10 years. And we went to the beach and we just had a long conversation. And she came back just holding my hand and leaning on my shoulder. And I love you so much. And I've missed you. And I didn't know when that was going to happen. But the tenderness and the sweetness and the connection that came out of going into that hard conversation was life changing. I mean, it was just pivotal. So I want to just use that as an example that when we get the gold out of the shadow, which is counterintuitive, scary, hard, confusing, we can get lost or afraid that we will get lost. That's where we lose the connection with self that I ultimately help men reconnect with through this process. So far we've got bold, communicative. What's the opposite of pleaser for you?
Instead of people pleasing, just more honest.
Honest. Cool.
Yeah,
What about authentic?
yeah.
Yeah. And one more. What would be one other antonym of people pleaser?
Loving. Because
Loving.
when you
I like
love
that.
someone, you tell them the truth, even if it hurts.
Yeah, cool. I like that. What's which one of those 3 do you like the best for yourself?
I gravitate towards loving.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to land this on a noun. I'll give you some example, and you pick the one that you like best. Um, bold, communicative love, or bold communicator, bold, loving communicator. Which one of those resonates most for you?
Old loving communicator.
Okay, beautiful. All right. So that's your gold out of the shadow, right? That you can sometimes get lost in being a timid, conflict avoidant people pleaser. But when you touch that bold, loving communicator and you connect that, right? Because your strengths were connecting, exploring, and moving. And we can do those things. That's like upper body, core, legs, right? You can go to the gym and you can work those things out. And you could say, okay, I'm going to practice connecting with my family, right? I'm going to practice, exploring ideas. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this stuff. But like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, the muscle is built in the last 4 reps, right? It's when you think you can't go on and it's like, and you push through, something greater than you is shining through in those moments. And that's the gold. So when you're connecting, exploring, and moving with bold, loving communication, what, give me an example of a time when you've done that.
Old loving communication.
Yeah.
Um, First
You're
moving to
connecting.
Charlotte, my wife and I having a honest talk, prepped the conversation, got
Yeah.
some flowers, sat down, and we readdressed our life plan together because what we were doing wasn't towards that trajectory,
Hmm.
um, and we had to address it. And the conversation revealed a change in our trajectory, and it was a difficult conversation that night. But here, a couple of years removed, oh man, um, we are so happy, and it all was from being able to be like, hey, we got to have a talk. It's gonna be a rough one. So let's get some takeout, some flowers, sit down. I'm here, and this is what's on my mind.
I love that, man. I love the flowers and I love the takeout. One of my favorite things about how to deal with challenging conversations in families is if you hit a wall, give them 20 minutes of space and come back with food. So you preempted that. You're like, let's get the takeout because we know we're going to hit that, right, that low blood sugar moment. Like, let's make sure we're resourced for this. Yeah, I love that. Um, Tell us about another time when you were connecting, exploring, and moving with bold, loving communication.
My last Modern Man conference, I was on stage telling about a story about personal responsibility, um, my life story, and how that could relate to each of us taking responsibility over our lives. And it was um, It was a moment where leading up to it, there was fear being on that stage and having the keynote talk, but being up there, I was able to deliver it, make eye contact with the audience, feel that energy and that resonance, and that drove home for me. And having the positive affirmations afterwards of people who got some good value from it helped drive that point home for me.
Love it. What's your earliest memory of connecting, exploring, and moving with bold, loving communication?
That's a great question, Craig. Who's the interviewer here? My God. Um, Earliest memory. Let me take a beat to really ponder on that, meditate on that. Earliest
Man.
memory. Oh man, one of my first best friends, Justin, he and I hit it off in like elementary school. What was ironic is it wasn't our friendship, it was an apology. We were bickering over something and our bus got into an accident and we ran to each other right away. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But that was just a moment, one of the earliest memories I remember coming back to a friend, apologizing for whatever we were fighting about was something childish and dumb.
Mhm, mhm.
But in that moment, communicating what was more important was our friendship and our lives than whatever we were bickering about.
Nice. So, what we want now is we want a verb that describes the thing that you've always kind of done. This is like the through line. This is the subtle golden thread that runs through all your life experiences where you're like, that's kind of what I was born to do. That's just the thing that keeps showing up naturally. I'm like a fish in water with it, that
Mhm.
it's an unconscious competence that we're going to make conscious. And we want to give it a verb to start off the three word phrase. So I've got recalibrating, addressing, revealing, teaching, storytelling, reconciling, repairing. And it may not be one of those words, but that's sort of the ballpark. Is there a word that pops to mind where you're like, that is the thing that I've always kind of done?
Yeah. When you said recalibrate, that kind of sparked something in me because I
Yeah.
tend to think outside the box. I'm not like anti-society or anti-movement, but I'm always like well, have you pondered this? I'm always outside the box. So I'm recalibrating traditional thinking. I'm recalibrating traditional approaches to things. So that really resonated with me.
I like that. So is that the thing you've always kind of done, recalibrating traditional approaches?
I mean, to be honest and transparent with you and authentic, it's and my wife will hear me say again, you feel like an outlier in your environment because you see things differently. And oftentimes you try and explain to folks how you see things, and it doesn't always hit, doesn't always resonate, but you know that you're sometimes onto something. Sometimes I'm way off. I will admit, but it's not just outside the box thinking. There is no box because my mind is automatically just expanded to recalibrating certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need two more words here: recalibrating traditional approaches, recalibrating traditional thinking. Does that land well enough?
Recalibrating traditional thinking.
Okay, cool. And again, man, all we're doing is just getting a draft on the map here so that you have something, right? Like there's Florida, there's the Yucatan, there's Cuba, right? It's enough to know, well, there's a big island in the middle of this thing and some peninsulas and but the more you explore it, the more you get that map dialed in until you've got like GPS positioning level detail. But for now, it's enough to navigate. So here's what I would say as a purpose statement for you. So your purpose is recalibrating traditional thinking by connecting, exploring, and moving with bold, intuitive, or bold, loving communication.
Mm.
How does that land as a first draft?
You mind saying it one more time?
Yep, yep. So your purpose is recalibrating traditional thinking by connecting, exploring, and moving with bold, loving communication.
Sounds a lot like what I'm doing with the podcast. It
Perfect.
lands pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it shows, and your listeners will probably be able to recognize this, that when you're doing the thing that you're naturally wired to do that lights you up from your zone of genius, there's a level of mastery that we can attain that is natural. It's effortless and it makes it really enjoyable to listen to you do your thing because you're just good at it. and it gives you energy, right? And you're able to do hundreds of these episodes and with no loss of enthusiasm versus if we're doing something where we're grinding, it wears us down. It drains our energy. This type of thing seems to give you energy. And so if we can find something that gives us energy, that taps into our zone of genius, taps into our deeper purpose, ignites our flow state, right, which creates intrinsic energy, that's a perpetual motion machine. And that's what I like to look for a second mountain mission, which is I could do this for, we have never retired younger, healthier, wealthier in the history of civilization. And yet we have this masculine purpose that drives us as men. So we need a mission that can take us into our 50s, 60s, 70s. I know men in their 80s that are going strong. Like they're like, I feel like I'm in my 30s. That's part of it, is that they're not grinding down their own gears and wasting away, suffering under a labor that's not totally aligned for them. This type of effortless, frictionless activity is a perpetual motion machine that can last for decades. And this is what I help men unlock.
That's fantastic. And even just seeing how and for the listeners, we did not rehearse this. We did not go through this before. This is me going through it. I have the four quadrants written here as well, all the scribble scrabble on the bottom. But thank you, Craig, first and
Yeah,
foremost,
you're so welcome. You're so
for
welcome.
that clarity because I'll be able to replay that sentence. I didn't take the time to shorthand it. I want to get it in its entirety, word for word. And I write in my journal and in my planner. I lean into the affirmations. I do believe a lot in identity. Our identity helps shape our behaviors and movements. And with that statement, feeling the connection to what I'm doing with this podcast. And to your point, when it comes to the podcast, over 400 episodes in, I've never hit record and then finished and been in a worse mood than when I started. I've always been more energized after recording one of these than before. So I know wholeheartedly, this is before it ever paid me a penny. I know wholeheartedly this is something that resonates with my soul and deep down. And it's something that so many men look for and that fulfillment. And even through the relationships, even pulling a little research in here, if I may, Harvard study of adult development um, found that purpose and meaningful relationships, not status or income, drive long-term fulfillment.
That's
And it's that purpose piece that we lean into so much. And this is a Harvard study of adult development and the longest running happiness study that found this. What do you find is the aha moment or the revelation for men when you take them through this process? And I know you said it takes 90 minutes. I'm sure we're not done with the full purpose mapping, but getting to here and even further, what do you find is the results or what men take away from going through this?
That's a great question, man. And it's multi-layered. So the first is just getting that map of psychological wholeness where, what we're effectively doing is painting the shadow in a corner because it's in our blind spot. It's very hard to access. I mean, people think that their downfall is their shadow. And I'm like, no, there's another layer deeper. And this is the one that you can't see. And then we help them see it. And they go, wow. Like there's a sense of relief of like, okay, all of me is on the table now. Now I can see everything about myself. And I didn't die, right? Nobody tried to kill me. I'm right. I'm fully accepted. I can show up fully in the world. And then the next layer is getting the gold out. Where it's like, whoa, yeah, that's in me. It's not always shining through, but there's always little glimmers. And I can bring that to bear in the world through my strengths. And we get that purpose statement. And that's another level of, oh, yeah, that is the thing I've always kind of done. Where it would go from here is a vision, which is if you could reach all 8 billion people on the planet with your purpose, what kind of world would we live in? And that's a big, vague, abstract thing that you'll never achieve. But it's like a North Star. You're always reaching for it. And then we come up with a mission, which is a 3 to 5, maybe a 10 or even 20-year big, hairy, audacious goal. That's the mountain that you climb to get as close as humanly possible to that North Star. But you'll actually get to the top. You will plant your flag and say, I did that. And so that's what I see you doing with your community, right? With the podcast, is that you've got a mission. And I want to make a key distinction here because this is one of the biggest mistakes I think men make when they're talking about purpose is they use purpose and mission interchangeably, and they're not. They're very distinct. So to climb the top of the mountain and say, I have achieved my purpose, well, your purpose is your reason for being. I was a philosophy major, so I'm always defining terms, right? If you've achieved your reason for being, that is going to create an existential tailspin that's almost unrecoverable until you make the distinction of, oh no, I've achieved my mission, which is strategic, right? Purpose is existential, it's your why. Mission is strategic, it's your what. And we will achieve many missions in our lives. So I've accomplished this thing, I've achieved success, I'm financially free, or whatever the benchmark is. I've deepened my understanding of my purpose. And now, like you were talking about the recalibration conversation, now what mountain am I going to climb? Now what sea am I going to sail? Now what jungle am I going to explore? Where am I going to go from here? And we have to make that distinction. So we would do your purpose is who am I? Why am I here? Vision is the world. Mission is the next big mountain I'm going to climb. Milestone is base camp up that mountain. And then every day, if you're taking a tiny action step towards that milestone, you're going to feel that sense of fulfillment because you're making progress towards a goal. And that's where that flow state can kick in. And then we build some habits underneath that. And I'll just say it just for the full model: health, wealth, love, and flow habits. So there's a deep interior, who am I? Why am I here? That's where the sense of values live, and what's the meaning and fulfillment. There's our body, there's our health, our sleep, diet, exercise, posture, breath. There's our wealth, which is not just money, business, finance, but it's also, I'm in Mill Valley right now. I can see out to the bay, and, I was taking my daughter to the beach, and it's gorgeous. It's incredible. That's a sense of wealth, right? And then there's love, which is our relationships. Your number one, your top 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Your cohort of about 25, your 150 Dunbar's number, right? How are you relating through all that? And a lot of men end up very isolated at the top of Success Mountain. And I imagine that's part of what your community is about, is just giving men a sense of, we're pack animals. Like, we need to connect. Like, we will never feel fulfilled unless we're connected. That is what you're saying about the Harvard Men's Studies, the relationships, that sense of contribution to a community is vital. Without that, we'll never feel fulfilled. And so we need to consider those. I think of them like tires in a vehicle. Like, usually men get to the top of Success Mountain and their wealth tire is way overinflated, right? Relationship might be flat or running on patches and retreads. Health might be blown out, right? It's just things, we got to
Yeah.
get those balanced, and then we can roll smoother, and then we can take those daily action steps towards the milestone to achieve the mission, to fulfill our purpose. And that entire stack, that existential, strategic, tactical stack, when we get that chiropractic adjustment of the soul to get all 3 of those in alignment, that recalibration is what purpose mapping is designed to do.
Man, and unfortunately, what you just depicted, I love to go off that metaphor. Too many men wait until the check engine light comes on. And oftentimes when the check engine light comes on, the problem's been there for a while. And it's now too blatant to ignore it, and you need to see it. And even further, some men have that check engine light and they'll still drive a few hundred miles before they bring it to the shop.
Yep.
Um, what have you found, I guess, would be the barrier of entry or the belief that's stopping men from taking that leap? We mentioned before we hit record in our pre-interview of, a lot of men climbing the ladder, seeing the beautiful view, but realizing they climbed the wrong ladder. What's stopping them from seeking help to climb down and find a new ladder to climb?
I love that question. I think there's a number of things, but the one that I want to name, just because I think it's not as commonly discussed, is the evolutionary wiring in our brain as men. We are focus creatures. We take aim at a target, and hit the target is the definition of success. So if we're out in a hunting party 100,000 years ago, okay, and we're crawling on our elbows, right, and we're sneaking up in the tall grass, and there's a herd of elk. If I don't feel extremely confident that taking my shot is going to land us an elk, because if I miss, they all flee, right? We could have been stalking them for days, right? If I miss, the evolutionary cost, the personal shame, the risk of starvation, not just for me, for my hunting party, but our women and children back, at the cave or the camp or wherever they are, we have wired into our brains for millennia, don't fuck it up. And I think that fear of risking survival is it's one of the dimensions that would answer your question. If you get to the top of Success Mountain and you don't see a clear shot to take, that's where men just paralyze. They get lost or they drift off into irrelevance. They end up golfing their way to the grave, or, oh, I'm going to get my pilot's license, or I'm going to get instrument rated, or I'm going to get right. It's like, that's not making a contribution to the world. That's just hiding. That's just plateauing and thinking that success is the finish line. It is just the starting line of a whole nother level of the game that most men will never even get a chance to taste. And so I want to encourage men that have reached that point. There is so much more. And you can get to a level of clarity where you don't have any questions about your target, where you go, I have known this my whole life. I'm finally putting words to it. I'm articulating it. I can see the goal now. I feel that if I take my shot, I can land it. That is entirely possible for every man listening to this. And for the, 15, 20% of women that are listening to this, you probably know a man that you wish had that
Yeah.
level of clarity. And I'll tell you what, it's fucking sexy. I
Oh
see
yeah.
so many men that lose the magnetism that their wife was attracted to because they stopped going for something. Like, how do you lead your wife to the next level if you're just golfing your way to the grave?
Yeah. That complacency has you
Complacent.
just sticking at this nice flat level, which isn't exciting. I usually mention it as, when you're ambitious and you have these goals and these dreams, and your wife, she sees this roller coaster of what you're building. She sees the loops and the dips, and then she gets on the ride. And congratulations, you build a life, and then you park that roller coaster in the station, and you never let it leave again.
Right.
And she's like, "Wait, is the ride done?" And that's where I would love for the men to find that hammer, the worn out tools, and build that second coaster, build that second life. And I know you left your number beforehand, you left your contact information. As we come to the end, I want to make sure that the audience who went through the practice with us, who extrapolated a bit of their purpose statement, or of course they need more help getting guided through it. Maybe
Mhm.
they're at that point that you mentioned. They've won the first half, they've climbed the first mountain, but they see the dark valley ahead of them, and they're not sure about that second peak. What are some of the best links or contacts that folks can reach you and connect with you with?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, if you're the type of man who has achieved more than most ever dreamed of, right? That's like the 1% of the 1%. You know who you are. Call me. That number is 847-238-8332, and we'll have a quick chat and just see if I'm the right guy for you. Everybody else, I want to give you something that I've put together. It's it's really for every man, right? This is for any man who's looking for his next level. Maybe he climbed the wrong ladder. Maybe he climbed the right ladder, and he's saying, I want to keep climbing. Like, what else is there? There's got to be more here, right? So I typically work with um, successful CEOs, typically creative visionary types. I work with successful professionals, so the doctors, the lawyers. I work with top producing salesmen, realtors, really anybody who's kind of maxed out and realized that more money is not going to make me happier. I like the money. I want to keep the lifestyle going. I don't want to blow up everything that I've worked so hard for. And I don't want to take the risk of missing my shot. I've seen a lot of guys. I knew a guy decades ago. He had the most successful car wash franchise in the city. And then he went on to go be a web developer back when, websites were like a big deal, right? Be like an app developer now. And he blew it. I know the founder of Atari and Chuck E. Cheese, and he's trying to raise $2 million for an AI education startup. And I'm like, Nolan, where's all your money? He's like, I pissed that away. Just because you hit it the first time doesn't mean you're going to hit it the second, third, or fourth time. And so I want to make sure that men who have that track record and don't want to blow up what they've worked so hard for can get a clear shot on their next thing. The way to reach out to me for that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you access to the app where there's little videos and it'll take you through this whole thing. And it's normally $200, but I want to give it to your listeners for free, along with a second gift, which is the tracker that is going to give you the way to integrate this. So this is, I've got a group as well. I call it the wolf pack because we are pack animals. And what we do is every quarter, we go through the 13 weeks of the hero's journey. So every quarter is a hero's journey. What is my call to adventure? What am I going to go into the tests and trials and really, become a stronger man, have the support of the men's group, and we go on an adventure every single quarter. And, we've been doing this for years, and men just keep growing and thriving and coming back quarter after quarter. So I'm going to give you guys the tracker and the actual purpose mapping app. And the way to get that from me is to go to my Instagram at purpose mapping and DM me the word modern man. So one word, modern man. And I've got a little automation in there, and it'll send you a link with a coupon code pre-embedded, and you can get that for free. And then when you complete your purpose map, I want you to send it to me, and I'll take a look at it, give you a little bit of feedback, and then I'll send you the Wolfpack tracker so that you can work towards integration. And of course, if you're interested in coaching and talking further about that, happy to do that. But let's just get you guys going in the right direction, give you a taste, see if you like the work, and we can go from there.
Fantastic. And Craig, I'll have your number and the instructions for the DM in the show notes below. So anybody who's listening, watching, if they're driving right now, you can open up the description later on and scroll down and get those contacts right away. And I certainly appreciate the generous gift to our listeners. So thank you for that. And I do want to ask our last question. I know we got just a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. Um, and the heaviest one, which I say for last, something tells me you'll have no problem answering it. What is something you've seen or something that's happened to you that shapes the way you view the world as
Mm, I would say fatherhood. And, I know that birth rates are dropping. I know that the younger generation is less interested in having kids, but there's something so powerfully developmental about becoming a father. It kind of wrings the selfishness out of you in a way that it's a personal development course that you can't buy, like you just have to become a father. And I think that we need strong men who are working on themselves to become those role models for the next generation. And so I think fatherhood is probably it's like the oldest life hack.
yeah, yeah, I concur wholeheartedly, and it's one of those. It's my journey in fatherhood with my daughter is my training camp for service leadership. That servant leadership has been experimented through that fatherhood because um, she requires so much, and it's I've turned into a puddle. I could have sworn I was hard about a year and a half ago, but nope, nope. I'm a puddle, Craig. So I concur with the fatherhood message. Craig Filek, the creator of Purpose Mapping, a powerful framework designed for high achieving midlife men who find themselves at a quiet crossroads, wildly successful on paper, but unfulfilled in spirit. Thank you for your time, your expertise. Thank you for sitting in the driver's seat and extrapolating some of my purpose today. I truly appreciate it. And we're so glad that you were on the episode today.
It was a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to do a quick recap for some of the listeners who weren't able to take notes and do the practice with us. But who are you and why are you here? Right? It's a question that most of us don't take the time to ask ourselves. But if we can take the time to ask ourselves, many of us might find out that we actually don't know the answer. But that's okay because we just went through the framework and the roadmap on how to find that. More money won't make you happier. It's a never ending goal. It's a never ending pursuit where the goalpost will always move. And by the time you get to that goal, you'll find out that all that glitter is not. The finish line is actually the starting line. Congratulations. You got the title, you got the career, you got that net worth you've been chasing. What now? Now the work begins. Now the race starts, and it starts by finding your purpose. You have to create the roadmap. There is no roadmap for that next step. There is no roadmap or there is no direction for the next map because it's unique to you. Only you could navigate that and find that. And thankfully, Craig has built that framework for you to do so. The muscle is built in the last 4 reps. When you think you're done, go a couple more, go a few more, extend past that comfort zone just a little bit. That's where you start to expand yourself. I'm fully accepted. When you're in your purpose and you are living in your genius, you find what you can give to the world unapologetically. You step in your flow state. You are fully accepted by those who receive your gifts. Health, wealth, love, and flow pouring into that. And understanding the wiring that if you miss, our ancestors, if they missed, it was death. That's not the truth anymore. Be bold. Take the shot. Put your gift into the world and reach out to Craig to get the assistance in doing so. We're so glad you made it to the end of the episode, guys. Make sure you reach out to Craig to get more. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. And as Craig asked before, I'm going to ask this time, leave us a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. It's one of the best compliments that you can give us, and it helps the algorithm so much so we can keep providing this value to you. Share this with somebody else you know can get value from it as well. And as we always say at the end of the episode, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the let me do that again in 3, 2, 1. And as we always say at the end of the episode, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without first the pain. Let's grow.